Hello and welcome to my lovely reviews that I'm going to give to you today. And these were good books. What a breath of fresh air. I know the last time I did a review, it was kind of like going like this, where I had books I didn't really care for, and I had books that I was like, oh, I love this. But today, these are books that I enjoyed. Let's start with Before We Say Goodbye. This was book 4 of the Before the Coffee Gets Cold series. In case you are not familiar with this series, I love this series. It is so good. The first 2 books especially, I really adored. So the whole premise of this story is that there is a cafe and it is set in Japan. It's written by a Japanese author. And in the cafe, you are able to sit down in a certain spot and they could give you a cup of coffee in order for you to go back in time or forward in time in order to see a certain someone. This has to be someone that has been to the cafe at some point in their life. And if they are no longer around, you could also visit them. And it's such a unique tale. When I first read the first book, it was a few years ago. It's the best one. The second book was my second favorite. Now, the fourth book and the third book, I feel they're like kind of equal. In the fourth book, this whole idea is that there is closure that has to happen. These people are saying goodbye in certain ways. There's one story where maybe not so much. From what I remember, there are 4 people in this book. One is a man, the rest are women, and they all go back in time. And I just think there's such beauty. Like, the first 2 books made me cry. The third book might have made me tear up. This book, it was very touching. It didn't move me as much as the others, for sure. It's so good. I highly recommend this series. There's a 5th book, which I still have to read, and I plan on doing that at some point soon. And it came out, I believe, the end of last year. And I don't really want to talk about the stories for the people that go back in time. Like, I don't want to give anything away. Something that I think this book lacked is, in the other books, you got to know some of the people that worked at the cafe a little bit better, but now we've kind of established who they are. And this one, you didn't really understand much. There is a ghost at the cafe. It's a person that was unable to come back. There are rules that are set in place. And the whole idea is that you have to finish your cup of coffee before it gets cold, or you become a ghost. You sort of get the ghost story. And I feel like that was something I've been wanting to know. A Lady's Guide to Marvels and Misadventure. This is a Christian romance, historical fiction book. It's kind of like a steampunk story. While I know some people, they don't really want to read books that talk about God in it, this doesn't have scriptures, but it has a lot of talking about trusting in God, having faith in Him to help you through different situations. So the main character, she had just broken her engagement and she was hurt really big time by her fiance, ex-fiance. She comes from a wealthy family. It's set in the Victorian age. And her grandfather is someone who fixes watches. He's really good with understanding gears and working such things, making creations. And he hires this one young man who has a prosthetic leg. He had been in a war and he comes back. He doesn't really want to talk about who he is, but he wants to work for this grandfather. Now, right away, she is on the defense about this young man because she thinks, oh, what if he was sent to spy on us by my ex-fiance, because she has so much fear around her ex-fiance. He just really was a horrible person. As soon as he starts coming into the story, her grandfather, I don't want to give away what exactly happens, but he goes away and he sets some trails, like breadcrumbs, I guess you would say, to try to help his granddaughter find him. And he says that the young man has to accompany her, setting her across Europe to try to find clues to where her grandfather is. And her mother comes along, and her mother is hilarious. This whole book is pretty witty. There's really cute banter. I really think the writing was pretty fun. But the mother, she rescues animals, like any animal she can. If she sees it hurt, she's just very much into these animals. And it's really cute, her little ways of trying to rescue these animals. So anyway, it was a really cute story. I was so glad that I read it. I had only heard about this within the past few months. The Fragile Threads of Power. Now, I brought this up in my last review because I read the Shades of Magic series. I only liked the first book from the 3 books. This book is the 4th book, but it's in its new series called the Threads of Power series. I think it should be book 4. and it was really good. I was so glad because I was so disappointed with the second and third books from the Shades of Magic series. In this series, we have new characters, but also the old characters come back. I do think you have to read the first series in order to get to this series, but this one is more about this girl named Tess. She's a tinkerer. She's able to fix things, and she's a young girl. I think she's 12 years old, and she has people kind of after her. She looks up to the people who are the Antari, which are the people with the highest magic. Now there are different Londons, 4 different Londons that you could jump through if you're an Antari. Hard to explain this because I can't give anything away, and since it's like the 4th book, it's a big book. All the books are kind of big, but this one was like 700 pages about. It was really long, but the whole time I was very into it, and I was really glad about that. There are mainly like 3 stories that we follow. There is a new queen in White London. There is a new set of stories happening. It's mainly set in Red London. We do get to visit some Grey London. There is a portion of Black London, but the characters are pretty interesting, I feel, in this series. We get a story up to 7 years after the last book. It like skips around in different ways. Like they'll tell you like 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 7 years ago, 1 year ago. So at first I was kind of confused by the way the time went. If you watched my last review about the other series, please do that. I told you a little bit more about what the series is about. If I didn't go into this series blind, I probably wouldn't have read it. Typically, I'm not into really violent books, or it has to be like violent in a different sense, which I'll talk about with the next book actually. But yeah, it was excellent. I was very glad after dealing with the bad ones. So the last book, this one I just finished yesterday, Under the Naga Tale. This one I tried to win on Goodreads like 7 times and I never won it. And I was a little annoyed because the author of this has a mini documentary. It's like 40 minutes long or something like that. And I watched it whenever it came out, like 2017 or 16 or something like that. I watched it, and so I was excited when I found out that there was going to be a book by this man. But his son also writes a little bit in this book. And basically it was his son, grew up in America, and he was trying to find out a bit of his father's past. His father survived the Khmer Rouge genocide in the killing fields and the hard slave labor that went on. I need to backtrack. So in case you don't know about the Khmer Rouge, now it is pronounced Khmer Rouge, and I know that for certain because my nonprofit partnered with a woman that has her own organization in Cambodia, and she knows the language of Khmer, and she said that's how it's pronounced. And everyone says Khmer, and she's like, they all say it wrong. So I am trying to set the record straight. It happened in the 70s, basically when America bombed Cambodia in order to start the Vietnam War. And that's something you could look up. You could do some research on that. It was kind of like a hidden thing, and it worked. And it was to try to take out communism. And with that, there was a ripple effect where Cambodia then, they had people that decided to want to overthrow the government and the kingdom, and they wanted to take control. Pol Pot, which actually he didn't mention Pol Pot's name in this, he decided to use young people in order to tell the educated and torture them and try to make it where all of the young people kind of rule. And he made soldiers out of them and then forced all the poor people to grow things to make a community effort. But he killed thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And so many people starved. So many people had their lives completely destroyed because of the situation. It's one of the most horrific situations. So anyway, I've read several books about survivors from Cambodia who went through these tragedies. And I enjoy survivor stories because it shows the way people could get through horrible circumstances and overcome and then give a voice to what goes on. So this man, May, he is the youngest of, I believe, 8 siblings. His mother died when he was like a teenager. He had his own business with his mother, and he ran his business when she died. But then they got news that they had to all leave. So they were all forced out of their village. They had to walk for miles and miles, his father, his siblings, and their children. And he was very young, like 19 or so. And then they were told, okay, you have to live here. You have to do this. They're told what to do. And it stripped all of their dignity. It stripped all of ability to have family. You are not allowed to really care about such things. They wanted to rip away all of the goodness in people. So anyway, Under the Naga Tale, he explains the title in the book and what that means to Cambodia about the Naga. This story is very hard. This young man survived several years in the jungle with his family. He was put through what he called a concentration camp, as a labor camp, and then how he was able to make his way into Thailand, but then sent back to Cambodia, and then went back into Thailand, and eventually to America. This story is powerful. It's so well written. It's a beautiful book. I am glad I finally got to read it, and I'm glad my library had it. It has pictures in it, so you could see what he looked like. His father is up top, he is on the bottom. The man that wrote it is right here. It's very deep. As a trigger warning, the only thing I could say is that there is lots of violence, things that he saw, things he endured. It was very sad. The whole story is sad. If you can handle stories like this, I really recommend it. I'm used to reading things like this, and I still get like my eyes tear up while I read it. I get really angry. I'm tearing up just thinking about what he went through. It's really, really rough. I really love this story. So now it's on to trying to read some new books. After that, it's like, whew, it's heavy. So let me know what you finish. Yes, I read a lot, guys. I read a book every like 3 or 4 days. So I'm able to keep doing these reviews very regularly. And I hope that you will stick around. Tell me what you're reading. Tell me if you've read these books or what your thoughts are. Or if you're like, oh, I would never read that. Or like, oh, that sounds interesting. It's always fun because I've watched reviews on YouTube and I have received, in fact, the Ladies' Guide to Marvel's Misadventure was actually through a BookTube person. Actually, there were like 2 people I saw recommending it that are Christian booktubers. And I said, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. Thanks once again. Happy reading. Have a great day.